The following program is a production of the Harvard Business School Management Productions. The power of ideas at work.
Observe a Saab taxiing down the runway right to left as you taxi off on. He will give way to you. Just keep your speed up.
Whether you're piloting a plane or leading a business, your success depends on information. Airspeed, fuel, direction, costs, return on investment, market share. All this information has to be available on demand. But what if the information from the instruments wasn't accurate? Or suppose the pilot relied on only one instrument to fly the plane? These are unlikely scenarios, and yet this is exactly the situation for many executives today. How good are your instruments? Are they giving you the information you really need to lead your organization through turbulent times? Welcome to Flying Blind, the first program in the Harvard Business School Management Production Series, Measuring Corporate Performance. Traditional financial systems cannot provide the accurate, complete information managers need in today's business environment. In Flying Blind, we'll look at why this is so and introduce two innovative techniques: activity-based costing and the balanced scorecard. Traditional financial systems were designed for simpler times. Labor-intensive factories producing just a few products, with only a few competitors, and selling to local or regional markets. Today, business is anything but simple. Companies are dealing with rapidly changing technology, demanding customers, and many more competitors, not only locally, but from all around the world.
In the auto industry, the competition comes at us from Europe and from Japan and our domestic competitors. So we're facing this global challenge that's an onslaught on Chrysler Corporation.
In our business, all of the support activities have become more important, particularly because our customers are expecting more unique products, more unique services. Everybody's expecting a custom approach. So everybody who supports our sales team, everybody who supports our customer service activities has to be on board.
To satisfy demanding customers and hold their own in global competition, companies are proliferating products and services. In this complex, fast-moving environment, errors are more likely, and the consequences of errors are swifter and more severe.
It is a difficult environment. It is a worrisome one. It's one where you've got the two issues of, can I deliver the service, and then can I make a profit at it? And so what is the cost of delivering that service, and will I actually be able to sustain that? Or will, having achieved all of our objectives and actually gotten the system fully stable and the service right, and knowing that we can deliver anywhere in the globe at any time of day or night, will you then find a competitor has just gotten there ahead of you with a different twist, and you're now going to lose your market share? So it is a really difficult environment to work in.
To succeed in this complex environment, companies need to know which products, services, and customers are profitable and which are not. Yet in many organizations, traditional financial systems cannot accurately provide this fundamental information. Robert Kaplan, Arthur Lowe's Dickinson Professor of Accounting at Harvard Business School, has worked with companies all around the country to analyze and solve this problem.
Because of the distorted signals that they're getting, companies don't really understand which are the most profitable products and which products are in fact costing them a lot of money. And as the expenses of the unprofitable products and customers load on the profitable ones, prices tend to go up, and it leaves that segment very vulnerable to focused competitors, especially competitors with more efficient processes.
By distorting costs and profits, traditional financial systems allow companies to make serious mistakes.
Excellent electronics companies like Hewlett-Packard and Tektronix came to realize that their engineers were designing products with far too many unique components, and that greatly increased their purchasing costs and their material handling and storage costs. The automobile companies just proliferated all the various options and features. Too many taillight assemblies, too many different types of steering wheels, too many colors, far more than the consumer was willing to pay for the variety. And certainly in the deregulated environment for financial institutions, banks started offering many, many different types of accounts and services to their customers without any notion about whether these accounts were profitable or even whether an entire customer relationship was profitable. One of the big problems is that the accounting systems seem to give numbers that have a great deal of accuracy to them. They're reported to 5 or 6 significant digits. Unfortunately, the managers are confusing precision with accuracy. Even though the numbers may have 5 or 6 digits in them, the first digit could be wrong.
These cost and profit distortions are made worse by the rapid growth of indirect and support activities.
Of course, indirect and support expenses have always existed. It's just that over the last few decades, the direct costs, which have been the focus of companies' accounting systems, have decreased, and there's been a big increase in the indirect and support expenses. So that procedures that were introduced decades ago to kind of average these indirect and support expenses across all products are now taking on a much greater impact and leading to much higher distortions because the amount of expenses that are being distributed in this way is much larger.
At Chrysler Corporation, changes in manufacturing technology were putting strains on the traditional financial system.
With the dramatic changes that are occurring in the world business environment, it was very difficult for Chrysler to operate with our prior costing structure.
The costing has been on direct labor basis. In other words, and what we're finding nowadays is that direct labor doesn't represent the bulk of your business. Robotics, for instance, if you had a man simply doing there, that's direct labor. But in a robotics operation, obviously, you need an engineer to make sure that the thing's programmed right. The programming of the activity is important to us. So that shifts from a direct labor activity to an indirect labor activity. And every time you put in the more sophisticated equipment, which we're all doing, then you're going more towards indirect labor. So it's important that you defined how much money is really being spent on indirect labor, and how are you controlling it? What are you doing with it?
When it was just a small piece of the equation, you could take some shortcuts and handle it fairly easily. In today's environment, where it's a large segment of the cost structure, you must look at it much more closely than we have in the past.
Chrysler's story is representative of what's happening to virtually all manufacturing companies today. In fact, this is exactly the problem that service organizations have, because their expenses are all indirect. In both these kinds of settings, we need more accurate systems to understand the demands for all of the indirect and support expenses that are being created by decisions made about individual products, services, and customers. The core problem is that the traditional financial systems cannot accurately assign this growing body of indirect and support expenses to each of the products, services, and customers of that organization. This prevents managers from understanding which products are its most profitable and where there are products and customers that are in fact highly unprofitable.
Which products are profitable? A company that grappled with this question is Maplehurst, a $200 million supplier of frozen dough products to supermarket bakeries in the U.S. and Canada. Company president Eric Riswick first noticed a problem with his traditional financial system when a new roll-making machine didn't seem to deliver the cost reductions expected.
We're talking about a piece of equipment that makes rolls. It's a staple product. It makes all kinds of rolls, from Kaiser rolls to hamburger rolls to hot dog rolls, all the staples. This equipment is high-speed equipment. We're talking about the ability to double our production capacity, meaning that the same number of people can produce twice as much product. And as we went through our exercise, as we went through the exercise of auditing the project, what we found out was that the product costs, in fact, had not gone down as much as we had expected.
We feel that we're reducing our costs, but it's not showing up because of the way we're...
Well, that's my feeling as well. And I think somehow we have to figure out how to reconcile what the accountants are telling us and what's, well, and what your gut feeling is.
We feel it's happening in production, yes.
And we dug a little bit further. We found out that, well, yeah, it was a good project. There was a lot of savings, but the savings somehow got spread out throughout the whole plant. Everything had got a little bit better.
The Maplehurst accounting system was assigning all the factory overhead uniformly to all products, case by case.
So although we were still producing the same number of cases, and although intuitively we knew that our costs had gone down, the accounting system was still burdening those products with the same amount of overhead as we had before. So what we had to resolve was, how do you make a pricing decision without having good, solid numbers?
You can really see why managers come to distrust the signals from their accounting system. They made a good investment, but the accounting system didn't support their knowledge about what was really happening in the factory. Because they lose confidence and trust in the accounting system, then they start to launch special studies anytime they really want to find out what's happening, or if they know they have a major decision coming up. Another signal as to the inadequacies of traditional accounting and financial systems is how many special studies organizations have to do. And third, managers' intuition is generally pretty good. But being pretty good may not be good enough in today's environment. The intuition needs to be supported by facts, by data, and they're not getting that support from the systems now in place.
Activity-based management is a new approach to analyzing and managing product, service, and customer profitability. ABM is based on activity-based costing, which can accurately assign indirect and support expenses to individual products and services.
Activity-based costing takes a different view of the organization. Rather than view the organization as a set of isolated functional departments, ABC looks at the organization as a set of activities and interrelated processes. Some of these activities are setup activities, scheduling activities, purchasing activities. We always like to describe activities as verbs. They're actions, things that people are doing. Companies can start to see how much they're spending for their activities or processes. They see for the first time how inefficient some activities are, how much resources are being soaked up to perform routine activities like setup or introducing new products or purchasing or handling customer orders. They can also see that certain products or certain customers are demanding a disproportionate share of the organization's resources.
We were very keen into product line profitability, and we had to understand what our various product lines cost. And we understood that ABC provided much different numbers than what we had, and sometimes dramatically different. I mean, we were not